Hey everyone, happy Thanksgiving. I wanted to create this quick video for you to provide some tips, tricks, and recommendations that I have to help you survive Thanksgiving as well as the rest of the holiday season. It's actually my hope that you will use this video as a resource throughout the year as well for any of your social events too. These are some really great recommendations and strategies that you can use to help you feel really good about the food decisions that you're making. So my first guideline is to always focus on protein. And really, protein should always be the focal point of all of our meals. But in Thanksgiving, this can be really helpful because if we consume adequate protein, it can actually help minimize overeating food in general. Remembering that a serving size of protein is roughly the size of your outstretched palm, which can be very helpful, especially if you aren't wanting to weigh, which I hope none of you are weighing your food and tracking your food tomorrow. That should probably be rule number one. Please do not open up the app and track your food tomorrow unless you absolutely feel called to do so. I've never asked anybody to track their food on Thanksgiving. So please do not do that. This is really great practice for you to practice autonomy with food. So I do encourage you following these guidelines, but I also want to say that you don't have to. The only thing that I want you to do, the only thing that you should feel obligated about doing tomorrow is feeling really good about how you go about Thanksgiving. So these are really great guidelines for you to kind of practice some autonomy and control, especially if you feel like you lack control with food. These are some ways that we can kind of stretch within some general guidelines that can help things stay a little bit more contained than perhaps maybe we have in the past. So guideline number one would be to make protein the focal point of your plate. Protein tends to help us feel fuller longer and can also minimize us overeating other foods. It's also really important for you, obviously, nutritionally, for other reasons too. We don't store protein the way that we store fats and carbs, so our body really relies on the protein that we provide it each and every single day. Guideline number two is to try and remember your hand serving sizes. I've given most of you guys the serving size hand measurement guide, but just to give you a refresher, this is protein. A serving of fat is roughly the size of your thumb. A teaspoon, or so for example, like a teaspoon of sugar would be roughly the tip of your finger. You can also use regular table flatware, like a tablespoon and a teaspoon. You could do that too. And then roughly a serving of vegetables or fruit, grains, things like that. I typically recommend using your balled fist. Some people recommend doing some of the denser carbs like rice and rice and potato like this, but I think this is kind of a challenging measurement for me. So I go with this. Again, these are estimations, and if we haven't had this conversation about just food estimating in general, nutrition labels are not terribly accurate. So if you think back to the days that you are tracking, for example, like a serving of peanut butter is 32 grams or 2 tablespoons. Like, okay, if you go a little bit over, your body's not like, oh my God, like this is too much peanut butter. Like everything is very relative, and we're always acting purely on estimation. Tracking and measuring helps us be more meticulous, but it's not 100% fail-proof or accurate. So using general hand recommendations is actually a really great and also sustainable way of managing our food intake, especially for those of you who are not tracking every single day. Guideline number 3 is to slow it down. Chew your food thoroughly. Honestly, this is like my number one recommendation for people when they're struggling with digestion. How well are you chewing your food? We're all kind of subject to these like stressful environments, especially during the week. We're eating at our desks. We're trying to eat really fast. I'm a bartender. If I'm eating at night, during service, like I'm literally standing over a garbage can, like shoveling food in my mouth. It's not good for your digestion. We're intended to be eating in very peaceful, relaxing environments with very little stimulus. And we're meant to be present with our food, chewing our food, tasting our food. I mean, do you truly taste your food? Thanksgiving is one of those meals where we should be savoring every moment. A lot of time and preparation goes into creating these meals, and you're spending them with, I hope, people that you love and enjoy being around. So really take that time and slow down. There's no reason to rush. A good cue for me, I know this sounds weird, is to take smaller bites and really chew it until it's like mush in my mouth. And then I will swallow it. And take a moment. Don't immediately shovel your next bite of food into your mouth. I am guilty. All right. So slow things down a little bit, chew things thoroughly, taste your food, take a breath, drink some water, enjoy the meal, really draw that out. Guideline number 4 is going to be before you return for seconds, wait about 15 to 20 minutes. I know that sounds hard, but sometimes the connection between our gut and our brain just takes a minute to catch up. And we might be going back for seconds because we're still hungry. And so that 15 to 20 minute gap kind of allows things to settle a little bit, and you can make a better decision as to whether or not you're feeling satiated or not. Now, depending on what you want to do at Thanksgiving, some people want to eat until they're satisfied and then I'm all set. Thank you so much. Some of us want to eat all of the things, and maybe, we don't mind feeling overstuffed. This would typically not be a recommendation that I would make in general, but at Thanksgiving, if you feel like you want to go back for seconds because the food is delicious, or you haven't had a moment to try something and you're not hungry for it because you are truly satisfied, I'm not going to tell you that you can't do that. The only thing that I can recommend is truly paying attention and honoring your satiety cues. Remembering that there's always leftovers. I actually saw this really cool thing on Instagram that if you get like the disposable like muffin trays, those act as like really great containers for people to take leftovers home. So remembering that the food isn't going anywhere. There will be leftovers. And, if in a few hours you're hungry for more, then you can go back for it. All right. But if you're truly satisfied, you're stuffed, if you eat another bite, you're going to explode. I'm going to say I don't necessarily recommend that you go back for that. But again, taking that 15 to 20 minutes in between your servings might help with that. Out of all of the things that I mentioned today, there's one overarching rule that I have. And notice I'm saying rule and not guideline, because everything that I just discussed with you is a guideline. You can choose to follow it and you could choose not to. That's your decision. I just want you to feel really good about whatever decision it is that you make tomorrow. And I want you to be able to enjoy the day and not feel guilty about what you're doing. And so if you do plan on following these rules and things don't go according to plan, it's all right. I don't want you to feel guilty tomorrow. I don't ever want you to feel guilty about eating food. I want you to give yourself permission to fail forward and to learn from experiences, and to just tell yourself that even if you feel like you didn't get it right this time, that you have another opportunity to practice it and to get better at it. I will be honest with you. I will probably go overboard myself tomorrow. It's really hard to just feel 100% like I'm going to eat my fill and I'm going to move on. And, I'm going to stop eating when I'm full, and, I'm not going to go completely apeshit at dessert time. And maybe you will do that, and that would be really awesome, and I would applaud you. But if the opposite happens, please don't beat yourself up for it. Please know that we're going to get right back on track, and that we have the power to make different choices and decisions next time. Okay. And I also want you to know that if you step on the scale, your scale weight is going to likely be higher then you're going to want it to be. And this is going to be true for everyone. It's going to be true for me. It's going to be true for my boyfriend and my parents and everyone that I know that eats Thanksgiving. And you guys know by now that the scale weight is not solely, it's more sensitive to your fluid intake, fluid retention, sodium intake, carbohydrate intake, hormone balance, digestion, than it is your fat tissue accumulations or losses. Just know that if you do that, that it will come back down, and that all you need to do is get back on track. And we just need to get one day in after another, one small step after another, and things will settle back down and it will be all right. If you do not want to check in this weekend, I totally understand. You do not have to. You're welcome to, but if you do not want to, you're welcome to just realign next week and check in the following weekend. Whatever is going to make you feel the best. So guys, please enjoy. I hope that you enjoy all the food and the time with your family. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. All right. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. And I will talk to all of you soon. Mwah.